Let's give Thomas a round of applause and make him feel welcome. And whenever you're ready, dear, you may begin.
Football is America's high school's most played sport, but a growing trend is beginning to start. High schools are trying to cut football and replace it with soccer, to claims that not enough is being done about the concussion problem. Let's look at some numbers for football. In the past 5 years, the participation in football has dropped 2.4%. It putting at the number of high schoolers participating in football at about 1.08 million athletes. The high schools say not enough is being done, and so they are warning against the dangers of playing football and trying to cut it due to injuries. Now let's look at a high school that had cut their football team. Warren Hills Regional High School. Their star quarterback, William Murray, was in the middle of the game, dropping back for a pass. Murray dropped back into the backfield to throw a pass when he was suddenly hit. He did not get up. Sometime later, Murray died in the hospital. Now, what came to your mind with his injury? Was it a head injury or a spine injury? Well, because that's what you've been hearing most about in football. Murray died because he was hit in his abnormally large liver. The Warren High School Regional cut their football team, and one of William's friends said, I will miss my player, and I wish I could be half the man he was and forever will be. And that's a quote. They say not enough is being done about football, but many websites and many professionals are putting much money into making football much more safe. Now, if you could please look at your handout. These are some of the ways to stay safe in football, which many websites have listed. This was brought from orthocn.com, which is a website that has information contributed to it by many doctors. Now, if you could please put your handouts away. Here are some ways this website and many other professionals say to stay safe in football. The first one is to get your helmet fit correctly. NCAA, the National College Athletic Association, says that only 15 to 20% of football players have their helmet fit correctly, which leads to a higher rate of concussions. It also says to wear a mouth guard. Studies show that the mouth guard will absorb more of the shock, but there are some studies that show it doesn't, but they agree it'll also save your dental problems as well. Another way is coaches are being taught how to tackle correctly. Coach Lovenstein of St. Paul Lutheran High School has been coaching much of his life, and he's seen these kind of problems come and go. When Lovenstein was coaching in the 90s, the concussion injury of that day was becoming paralyzed. Football players of the early 90s would lead with their head, and when they hit their head, instead of concussions, they would become paralyzed. They did not have the technology to see the concussion part of it, only the becoming paralyzed. With proper studies being put into it and upgrading rules and techniques, the problem is virtually gone. And many hope we can do the same with concussions today. Another study shown by these doctors on this website is to strengthen your neck muscle. It is proven in studies, with no other studies to go against it, that stronger neck muscles do lessen concussions and prevent the risk of it. And that is why girls have a higher chance of concussions than boys do. Now I want to move on to my third point, football injuries and compared to other sports injuries. You hear a lot about concussions because they are the most dangerous, and that's the main reason high schools cut them. But concussions only account for 7.4% of football injuries. The injury that counts for a staggering 50.4% is knee injuries. But you do not hear about these as often because they're not long-term damaging. Also, football compared to other sports. Football and hockey are basically tied for first place with concussions, but coming in second is girls soccer, which high schools are wanting to replace football with. Also, I learned that The number one sport for the most injuries in the world is biking at number one, with almost 644 fatalities a year. Many professionals believe that if we educate the coaches, the adults, the school staff on how to play safe, and if we get the proper technology, concussions will become far less. It is, however, difficult to monitor this stuff because we've only had the technology since the early century, or since early 2000s, to study this. But much is being done with the short time we are given, and concussions are going to become a thing of the past, we hope. So I'd like to thank you for your time, and that's it.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you. Oh, wait, you gotta stay up there.
Oh, yeah.
We got questions for you. At least I hope we do. Let's hopefully have a few questions for Thomas related to his topic.
Peyton Mays.
How do you begin to implement a program to prevent more concussions?
Well, they've already started doing that, changing the rules of the game, and they've started having football coaches play like what Coach Lobenstein does, where we watch videos on how to hit properly and what happens if you don't hit properly. Emma?
So, you said in the past they would lead on with their heads first. So they no longer do that anymore?
No, that's a penalty, and you can get thrown out of the game if you do that too much. Mrs. Grant?
You said earlier a little bit about the difference between girls getting more concussions than boys do. I was just curious, did you have a source for that?
Yes, that's the website. It's on my handout too.
Oh, it's on the it's on the handout. Okay. Thank you.
And
Any
if
other-
it's also another source would be NCAA. They also list that as well, so
Okay,
there's two for it.
great. Thank you. Any other questions for Thomas? Nothing? Remember, part of your grade is that you respond.
So, why is it more dangerous for girls, or why are girls more susceptible to concussions?
Because the studies have shown that stronger neck muscles, like the more muscular they are, will absorb more of the shock instead of it being absorbed in your brain. And studies show that that's why girls soccer is number 2 on the list for concussion, but boys soccer is only maybe 5th or 6th on the list, quite exponentially lower.
But because they have thinner muscles?
Yeah, the thinner muscles don't absorb the shock as well.
Any other questions?
Peyton Mays?
Do you know if there have been any more deaths in high school football games this year?
There's been 3 this year so far.
Really?
What made you pick this topic?
Well, because I love football, it's my favorite sport, and I've also had a concussion in football, and I was kind of leading with my head too a little bit, and you just got to play smart when you do it, or else you'll end up getting hurt. Caution.
What will you do if you got a concussion?
Hmm?
What will you do if you got a concussion?
Yeah, what do you do if you get a concussion?
Oh, the doctors normally, they'll have you sit out. They say to stay away from bright lights and stay off your phone and that kind of things. Also and they do this because having a second concussion right after the first one can be twice as damaging as having your first one, which can lead greater chance to long-term damage. Thank you.
What should we do about the players that like to ignore the signs, thinking that they can play through injuries and such?
Well, that's the point of participating in the sport. You're kind of at your own free will, and if you don't want to stay safe and keep yourself safe, I mean, you're putting yourself at risk. And they make these rules to try and keep you safer and keep other players being put at risk, but ultimately it's up to you to be a smart individual and know when to sit out.
Okay, let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much, Thomas. And I